All right, welcome. Today we've got another edition of You Ask, I Answer, where we're talking about niching. So if you're on my email list, you noticed the other day I sent out an email that says, how can I help? And pretty much just asking you to tell me what you're struggling with most so that I could help you in your business. We did a pretty long video last week about niching and some of the common challenges when it comes to honing in on your target client. And so many of you had some ahas from that video. It was awesome. And follow-up questions have come in since then, and I wanted to address those one by one. So above, you'll see some of the questions I'm going to answer today, and feel free to ask questions in the comments below, and it will be me answering those questions for you. It is me that answers on social media. Nobody else. It is me. So feel free to pop those questions in. So here's what we're going to talk about today. The first question that came in as a follow-up was, how do I explain the results that people get when they work with me? So the questions are over here on my computer, so you're going to just see me look away for just a second. But specifically, this person says, I currently say we use X tool and Y technique to gain clarity, or something really vague like that, and she realizes it's not working but isn't quite sure what else to do. This is such a great question, and I also want to say this is one of the most common sales mistakes I see people making across the board. In fact, I was on a sales call with somebody I was looking at hiring not too long ago, and they answered my questions, they answered my questions for them in process speak, meaning we're going to do X, and then we're going to do Y, and then we're going to do Z, and then we're going to do A. And I was like, okay, but I don't care about your process. I just want to know if you're going to get me the end result. And so that's really what we want to talk about here. Your target client does not care about your tools. They do not care about your technique. They don't care about your process. They don't care about your steps. Your target client cares about you getting them the results that they want. So I don't particularly know what kind of business owner this person is who submitted this question. I'm assuming some kind of coach or therapist, but I can't really know. But the key here is you don't want to sell people on your process. So let me give you an example. In my program, Make It Work Online, one of the first things we do is help people get clear on their target client. We help them make sure they understand who this client is, what kind of pain points and frustrations their target client has, what kind of results their target client wants, what kinds of words their target client uses. And it's really hard work. Like, it is the hardest work we do in Make It Work Online is helping them get really clear. But you will notice in January when we launch the next round of Make It Work Online that I never talk about, first thing we're going to do is get clear on your target client. Then I'm going to help you generate a 3-sentence summary that talks about what you do in a way that your client understands. From there, we're going to create a bite-sized offer. And we're going to do that you're going to follow a template. And I'm using a silly voice. I hope that's okay. But the point is, we don't sell anything by selling the process. You don't care what step 1 is, what step 2 is, what step 3 is, what step 4 is. What you care is that you're going to get the result at the end of the day. And so to this person here who says, I need help explaining what the client will get because I realize that using X tool and Y technique is not working, the answer is you need to explain to your client the results that they will get. And you need to explain the results that they get in their words. So for example, if your client says, I want to understand what my plan is to go get a new career and what the steps are to get me there, then that's what you want to tell them you give them. Of course, if that's what you give them. If you are typically caught up using jargony terms like, I'm going to help you gain clarity to figure out your life's true purpose, and that's not what your client says, then that's not what you want to promise. So the key here is whether in niching or in sales or in marketing or in your copy or in conversations with prospects or anywhere written online, you never want to talk about your process. You always want to talk about your results, and those results should be in your target client's language. Okay, this is really key in niching and in marketing and in sales. Okay, the next question was, I want to be able to differentiate myself from my competitors, and I wanted how to connect with my right people. So let me just read a little bit more about this person's specific situation. She is saying that she does a little bit of psychology, a little bit of astrology, a little bit of coaching, and she has a fresh perspective, but she has people coming to her looking specifically for astrology or specifically for energy. So let's just use the astrology one as a great example. And this really ties into what the previous person's comment is, which is why these all fit together perfectly in one little video. So if your people are coming to you because they want astrology tips and they want to know what to do based on the stars, etc., then what you want to be doing is selling astrology. But I get the sense from your comment that's not really what you do. You are much more holistic, and astrology is just one of the tools that you use. This means you need to change how you talk about what you do and how you serve your clients in terms of the language you use. So you don't want to talk about astrology or what's happening all the time. So maybe you make a subtle reference about it here and there, but that isn't the focus of your content. Instead, you want to answer the same question that the previous person asked, which was, what is the end result your clients want? So what is the big problem you help solve for people, and what does that look like? And you want to figure that end result out and talk about that result. Now, you have these tools in your pocket, like you said, psychology, astrology, coaching. There's some of the tools and the techniques that you use to help people get the result, but you don't want to focus on the individual tools and techniques. You want to actually focus on the result. So another example, I was using the example earlier of Make It Work Online and how I don't market the steps. The other thing I don't do is say, well, the first thing we do is coaching, and here's how the group coaching calls are run. And then you get feedback from a personal copywriter. And we don't talk about those little, like the hows. People get all confused and messed up. It's really funny how when it comes to selling people, that kind of information actually makes it hard for people to buy. But when I say at the end of the day, you're going to know exactly what you need to do to get clients and create consistent income in your business, people are like, oh, that's what I want. So same thing here. Don't talk about the tools you use, coaching, astrology, psychology. Instead, talk about the results that you help your clients get and what problems you help them solve. Okay. And then from there, so then the next one is in terms of connecting with your right people. So now that you know you're not just serving astrology or you're not just giving the tools, but you're solving this problem, now you know who to go target. It's people who have those types of problems. And they're not all going to be in the same category. Maybe some of them are going to be moms, and some of them are going to be into yoga, and some of them eat vegan, but some of them are paleo. And so then you can go search out where your people hang out, sort of like, it's like a little bit of a Venn diagram. Anyway, if you want to know more about that, just leave a comment up below and I will send you the link to where you can go grab that download. Okay. Next one is the next question. Again, these are so good, such good follow-up questions. Is this person is a graphic designer and they are wanting to get out there as in a graphic design business. They've been sort of doing it in a different role, and she's wondering who to target. So she was given some advice that she shouldn't just be a generic graphic designer, but she's not quite sure who to target or why. She has some experience working in the entertainment industry, and she worked for a celebrity chef, and so she sees these targets of people that she can niche down into, but she doesn't really know how to pick right now, and she kind of feels a little bit overwhelmed. Okay, so yes, it is really important in the online world that you do get down and niche specifically. If you're a generic coach or a generic bookkeeper or a generic designer, it's going to be harder for you to find clients simply because that's so specific. That's so generic. And it will be easier to get clients if you can get a little bit more specific with who exactly you are talking to. And so, but at the same time, I'm not a big believer in artificially niching down. So I would ask you, Ms. Designer, if you could tell me, or you can answer this for yourself, who do you feel like you really understand the design needs of? So you say you worked for a celebrity chef for 10 years. Do you really understand the design needs of a celebrity chef and what they need on their website? Maybe you do and maybe you don't. But this is really kind of important to keep in mind is you don't want to niche down artificially and just pick a random group of people to target, but you do want to really think about who you can help and that you understand in a different level. So maybe you know what actors need for their websites or something else. But okay, hopefully this makes sense. You don't want to artificially narrow down, but you also don't want to pick one arbitrarily. So think about your design skills and who you know and what you know and all that sort of stuff, and start there with your niching. Okay, last question is around this. These follow-up questions were so fantastic. This person is an art therapist and a life coach, and she doesn't know what to call herself that would engage people in her services. And there's a little bit more to say about that, but I want to say it does not matter what you call yourself. And this just isn't for this person. This is true across the board. It does not matter what you call yourself. You can call yourself anything you want, and it's a-okay. So whether you call yourself an art therapist or a life coach or you make up a name, it doesn't really matter. I'm kind of a fan of just keeping it simple. So I would say I'm an art therapist and life coach who helps people whatever, solve this problem and create this end result for them. So don't stress too much about your name. Sometimes we get real caught up on these sort of things. Marie Forleo, she calls these creative cul-de-sacs. I don't know if she coined that term or not, but I first heard it from her. It's where it seems like this big juicy problem that we need to solve, but it just keeps us going round and round and round and round. Just pick something so you can keep moving. Okay, now the next person is, she says she wants to use that to engage her services. So your title isn't what engages your services with other people. That's in terms of how you talk about what you do and the problems that you solve. And you say, I have people create art, and through the process of art and reflecting upon it, that they are able to see their personal blocks and limitations and all that sort of stuff. So you're wondering to know if there is even a market. So again, if we go back to the first thing that I had mentioned in this video, that is talking about your process or your tools or your techniques. And the tools and techniques and process are so not very relevant. They're not irrelevant, but they're so minimally relevant to this kind of marketing. Instead, you need to really capture this as, what problem are you solving for people? So somebody comes to you and they say, I am so frustrated in my life, in my business, in my relationships, in my career, whatever it happens to be, because whatever, I'm confused, I'm stuck, I keep bumping my head against the same wall, I keep having arguments with the same person over the same thing. I have no idea what kinds of problems your target clients face. But you want to get really clear on the problems that your target clients faces. They come to you and say, I'm having this problem. And then you do your magic with them. And on the other side, they experience what? What end result do they get as a result of your work? When you understand the problem that you solve, the frustrations your clients come to you with, the problem you solve, and the end result you have, that's when you know what your target is. Now, is there a market for this? Yes, there's totally a market for this. There's a market for pretty much everything online. The example I always use is, except getting paid to just watch Netflix. Like, other than that, you can pretty much make money online doing anything you want. There's a lot of work that has to go into it, of course. But the key here is you have to understand the problems and frustrations your clients are facing and the kinds of results that you help them get. Okay, now this person also had some questions in terms of how to get started online, and we're going to do another video about that later, but should be enough to just get you started. Okay, so we just addressed a whole bunch of niching questions. We talked through explaining what your client will get you from your work, how to differentiate yourself from your competitors, how to connect with the right people, how to get specific enough, and what to call yourself because of your unique skill set, and can you make money doing this work online, whatever your work happens to be. If you've got questions about any of this, please post them below. I will personally respond and help you out. We've got a whole bunch more of You Ask, I Answer questions coming today and in the future days, and I'll be back probably in a few minutes because I've got another one for you very shortly. So hopefully this helps, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.